Welcome back to the channel. When you decide it's time to pack your bearings at home, what is the best way to get the old grease out of those bearings and to clean them? I don't know the best way to do it at home, so we're going to look at a couple different options today. The way we do it here in the shop, we have a heated electronic commercial parts washer. Not everybody's going to have that at home. Some of you may have a small parts washer, but a lot of people don't, and I don't know that it's necessary to go out and buy a parts washer just to do your own bearing packs. We're going to try a couple different options. I've never used any of these. One of these I've used a little bit, so let me take that back. I don't know which one's better than the other. We're gonna try it together. If you've used any of these products or something similar, you can leave us some feedback, so let's jump right into it. So I chose these three items to clean your bearings in because they're easy to get, they're pretty safe, they're inexpensive, and like I said, you can get them just about anywhere. These bearings all come out of the same unit. These bearings we were not going to keep. We had to replace the drum so it gets new bearings. So I pulled all three of these out of the same trailer, so they have the equal amount of age, wear, and grease on them. So we're gonna put everyone in. I thought about maybe pre-soaking these, but for video purposes I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do it even. So we're just going to stick them in. We're going to start washing them. We're going to start with the simple green. We'll move on to the purple power, and then we'll go on to, it's like washing a little baby duck. If it gets oil off the little baby duck, surely it'll get oil off of our bearing. So let's start with the simple green first. Let's see how clean this is going to get. So you're going to need something to put your cleaning agent in. I'm just going to use a mixing cup here. Nothing, I don't need anything big. You may want to get you a bigger tub with a lid or something on it so you can keep your cleaning agent and maybe get to use it again. Need some type of parts washing brush or just some type of scrub brush. We'll leave a link to the brushes we use and the rest of the products. If I can find a link for that, we'll leave that in the description below. So let's go ahead and wash this first. I'm going to set a few things down just to get them out of my way. Let's start with the simple green. And wear gloves. So these are natural gloves. I would highly recommend getting you a set of gloves that come up closer to your elbow that are natural as well. Like I said, these chemicals are pretty safe, but if you decide you want to go with a solvent base parts washer fluid to do this or something, you're going to need a little better glove than this. It will eventually eat through them. The big secret is just to make sure you get all of the grease out. And I think this would be a little better if you had a bigger tub to put it in, and we may switch to that here shortly. I don't know how much of this I'm flinging on the camera. Probably more than I need to. And be sure to work your brush in between the outer cage and the inner part of the bearing to try to push that grease out. And if you decide to get you a parts washer, nothing wrong with those. They have a little electric pump in them. Just make sure you put the correct fluid in them. Most of those will not take a solvent base. It's going to take some type of water-based fluid in there. The only downside to those, and it'll be the same as this, with that much fluid, once you get it dirty, is properly disposing it. You have to check with your county. A lot of those have places that you can bring your stuff. If you're DIYing around the house, they have a place you can come and dispose of that properly. If you're one of those guys that just say, just pour it out on the ground, that's fine. Just keep that comment to yourself. We won't worry about it. You won't worry about it. We'll all live happily ever after. The thing about the simple green, it smells good. It smells kind of like a root beer, I think. You know, I would recommend if you're doing this, no matter which of these three, I'd give it about a 15, 20 minute soak, maybe longer. The only thing you have to be mindful of when using these items, even on our parts washer, it is a water base. You have to make sure you get it completely dry and don't leave it. On our parts washer, if you leave it more than about an hour or two, it will begin to flash rust on there. So make sure you don't do that. Just gonna clean a little bit more, then we're gonna rinse it out and just see if we're getting anywhere. And none of this is warm. This is all room temperature. It's pretty cool in here today. It's probably low 60 in the shop. If you're using the Dawn dishwashing soap, we'll get to here in a little bit, you may want to use hot water in that. Probably work a little better. So I'm just going to dunk this in some clean water and see if we made any headway. So yeah, so we're getting there. It's not perfect, but you can start to see through the bearing. So I'd say that's working better than I thought it would, really. No more time than I spent on it so far. Let's take a look at that, see if we can get, I know this camera doesn't zoom. Sometimes it doesn't focus very well. That is not 100% clean by no means. It's getting close. We're going to set that down because we're going to use one more step on all three of these. We're going to move on to the purple power. And again, we'll leave a link in the description below for the purple power if that's what you decide to go with. When we get done, I will tell you my thoughts on all three of them to see if one's better than the other. I have used the purple power on cleaning some stuff in the past, and I have used a simple green, not on bearings, just on some other components. The simple green's always done a pretty good job, and it's pretty safe. And again, it's got a pretty good smell if you're worried about smells. That's done a pretty good job too. I'm going to show you something about this bearing that's different than the other just from cleaning it. Why it's important when you do your annual bearing pack and cleaning. Sometimes you can just repack, you know, and sometimes you can just you just have to replace the bearing. You know, it's been commented that we want you to replace the bearings because we're in the bearing selling business. That's not the case. I want you to replace the bearings so your wheel doesn't come off and kill somebody. That's my main reason. Whether you do it, I do it, or your neighbor does it. This trailer's fixing to go on a long trip, about 4,000 miles round trip, so they want it checked out. So I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm gonna put them side by side. The bearing in my right hand is a little golder than this one. This is more of the chrome look. This bearing has been hot. That could be from a variety of things. That could be from improper lubrication. More than likely, it was from the bearing just being loose and being worn. But this bearing was no good. So it's a good thing we changed it out, which we would have caught that when we ran through our washer. Sometimes when we pull the bearing out and it's greasy, you can automatically tell there's no reason to spend any time to put that in the washer. And that's the decision you have to make. Depending on what size bearings you have, it may only cost you $15 to $25 per wheel to replace those. So you have to figure out, you know, is it worth it to me to come in and to wash this and mess with the cleanup and mess with the disposal and all that? Or is it better for me, if I may have to do it in the next year, just to go ahead and replace those bearings? That's just a decision you need to make. Whatever fits your budget. There's no right or wrong. As long as your old bearings are good, clean them up if that's what you want to do. But if it's easier and honestly more cost effective for you, you may want to look at just replacing those. Okay, we got that one. So now let's move on to the old Dawn dishwashing soap. I don't have an exact ratio, so my ratio was I put about that much water in it, and then I put about that much soap in it, and I mix it around. So however much that is, I don't have a clue. Like I said, it may be better if you're using the Dawn to heat the water, use some warm water or hot water. I believe somebody commented on a video in the past that they use Dawn. I've never used Dawn to wash parts. So I thought, well, let's do it today if others have said it's worked. I'm a believer in learning from others for sure. I appreciate some of them old guys when I was younger that take the time to yell at you, to straighten you out, but also take the time, as they would call it, to learn you something. The Dawn's actually doing a pretty good job. Trying not to splash my camera lady. Just kind of roll those bearings around just to get some of the gunk out of there. Okay, so there's one other step you need to do if you do it this way, and that's to use something like brake clean or something to dry them up. Denatured alcohol may work, but I'm going to blow these out with compressed air first because I just want to see how much grease and how much gunk is left in it before we use the brake cleaner, because that's going to give us some washout too. So I'm going to grab an air hose. I'm going to show you the proper way to blow that out, and then we'll take a look at each one of these bearings individually. So if you're using compressed air, you don't have to have a lot. You're just blowing, you're just trying to get the moisture off of it, and if there's any residual grease out of it. If you don't have compressed air, you're going to have to use something like brake clean or something that's in a pressurized can to kind of help get that. Like I said, we're going to do that regardless. I just wanted to blow these out to see if there's anything left. Now, I've seen people hold these like this and blow it and make this spin really fast and make that real high-pitched whine. Do not do that. Number one, it's dangerous. The bearing could come apart. This outer cage that holds the rollers in is very thin. The other thing is it will ruin the bearing. It's dry, but the most important thing is dangerous. You could injure yourself. So just hold it flat and just use some air. So there's quite a bit of grease still in there. You can see that. So that is from the simple green. Now let's do the purple power. Do the same thing. So that is from purple power. Now let's do the old Dawn dishwashing soap. So I don't know if you can tell anything by any of that. I can tell a little bit. So now the next step will be on this. You need to get the moisture off as quick as possible. I'm going to use just some brake clean. We'll leave a link. If we can't find this, we'll leave something very comparable to it, just as long as it's a good quality brake clean. Just make sure you're doing some well ventilated area. So that is with the simple green and some brake clean. Those spots you're seeing there, if those are picking up in the camera, that is rust. That will happen from not doing your bearing packs and just letting it set for a few years. You can get some moisture that will get in the cavity of it due to weather change, depending on what type of climate, how much humidity you have. So that's why it is important, even if you don't tow it a lot, to do a tear down. It does have a lot of rust in areas. I'm going to spin this around and you'll see we still have some grease coming up on some of the rollers. So this is not 100% clean. So you would not stop here. You're going to need, whether you're using simple green, purple power, or Dawn, you're going to need to hit that again. And you may have to hit it a couple times, especially when you're doing it with elbow grease. It takes a little bit to get it out. So now we're going to wash the next one. I'm just going to wash it right here on the table. And last but not least, let's rinse out the one that had the old Dawn in it. Let's take a look at that one. Hopefully it's picking up good in the camera. So again, these are all water-based. So it's important that you got to get the water and the moisture off so you don't get any flash rust. Don't let these soak overnight. I'm going to say, 15 to 30 minutes is probably as much as I'm going to soak. I'm going to wash them and I'm going to dry them off. And then if I need to go again, then I'm going to give them another little bath. Each one of these, I think if you ran back through it, it wouldn't take you long now to get them completely clean. I'm going to give you my opinion, and this is non-scientific, just from what I'm seeing. I will tell you, all three of them did well. They did better than I thought they would. Like I said, I don't wash bearings like this because we wash them in bulk. But if I had to, in my opinion, the ones that wash the best was probably the Purple Power, and honestly probably the Dawn dishwashing soap, maybe a little bit better than the Simple Green. But I think either three of these products. So if you already have one of these, I would say not to go out and buy it. We're going to leave a link in the description, that way if you need one, or if you think you may have multiple uses for the Simple Green or multiple uses for the Dawn, I know those around the house, those come in pretty handy. The Purple Power may be a little too aggressive for some of your other cleaning needs. So I think really, from what I've seen, leave your comments what you've maybe used, but I think they all three did a pretty good job. But if I had to say, I would say the Purple Power and the Dawn did a little better job. Just a little bit cleaner, a little bit quicker. So hopefully that will help you in your bearing pack. Hopefully you'll go to our channel. We'll leave some links in the description below that shows you how to properly inspect, how to set the thrust on your bearings, how to do bearing packs, how to DIY as much as possible, whether that be to save you some money, just to have the knowledge in case you're taking a trip or something, need to know how to do it on the side of the road, or if you're taking it into a shop to really know what to look for in that shop. And again, just make the decision. It may be more cost effective and better suits you just to replace the bearings. Just price it either way. Like I said, that ranges anywhere from $15 to $50 per wheel, depending on what size of axle that you're running. So there's really not one greater than the other. I mean, use some brake clean or denatured alcohol, something just to kill whatever moisture is in there. If you don't have compressed air, if you have a little air compressor, I would recommend getting it either using a OSHA style nozzle, or one that's got a variable PSI nozzle on it. Don't blow it too hard out there, and get you some good nitrile gloves. I didn't wear any today, but I think I've got a link that I can leave for those that come up just about to the elbow, just so you don't get any liquid in and get a chemical burn or something like that. I would recommend, if you wear a ring or any jewelry, to take that off before you do this, no matter which one of these chemicals you're using, just so you don't get a chemical burn. Likely not going to get one with this, but you never know. With the grease and everything that's coming off here. So just make sure that you clean them. If there's any doubt, just wash it again, spend a little extra time, and hopefully this will help you in your preventative maintenance on your trailer, so that you keep rolling and aren't broke down on the side of the road. And we will see you on the next one.